Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Smooth Business Growth Podcast, where we share 15 minutes of fast-paced, pure marketing strategies proven to move the needle in your business. So I'm your host and Captain Lindsay Phillips. I'm the founder of Smooth Sailing Business Growth, where we help busy entrepreneurs attract and convert customers faster through powerful and consistent content marketing. In fact, if you go to smoothbusinessgrowth.com, you can download your social media roadmap to help you do just that. So, many of us cringe at the word sales. It's not that bad, people. We know it's important. We likely aren't very good at it, and we fear, sounding too salesy. Well, that's going to end after chatting with sales strategist Michelle Weinstein, who has landed huge contracts like Costco, pitched herself to the ABC Shark Tank, but more importantly, she's going to share with us today how to have empowered sales conversations so that we can skyrocket our top line revenue. So let's set sail. Welcome aboard, Michelle.
Well, thank you so much for having me on board today.
Awesome. And just so the audience knows too, that I was actually chatting with one of my clients, and Michelle was helping her and her sales team with their sales conversations and conversions and stuff like that. And it was so interesting to hear some of the tips that Diane shared that obviously you coached her on. And I was like, dang, I have to get her on my show. This was good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things, when I was talking to Diane, she has a very successful accounting firm. And I specifically work very closely with accountants. And this is an area that's never taught, and it's never even thought about that, I actually have to sell in my business. I thought clients just show up to me. And there's actually like this whole behind the scenes process that can really even elevate what you're doing amazing right now to levels that you've never even known existed. So that's what I was helping Diane with.
I know. And I loved how, when she was talking, that you have this formula, and you're right. People think of it as like, it's either you have the talent or you don't. Or
but you can learn how to sell. Like I have taught some of the most introverted, non-personable people on the planet, and they have become the best master enrollers of increasing their businesses. Some have like doubled revenue.
Nice.
And actually love to, they actually use the word sell too in the future. But I understand that's like a 4-letter bad word.
I know, right?
But my hope is that for each of you, there's something that maybe you hear today that you can implement, put into action, and, really increase your business, because top line revenue is where it's at.
I know.
Without top line revenue, you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your team, you can't pay your payroll. And, if you think about the most important part on a P&L, which is your profit and loss statement, if you don't know what that means, is sales. It says either revenue or it says sales, right?
You have it or you don't.
Right. And it's the number one thing that most people aren't even taught. So I've got a lot of great resources to help you learn how to love it like I love it.
Awesome. And I think, I know for me, it's like when you do make good sales, it's like you get this adrenaline rush, and it's like, you're like, I'm going to do that. Whatever I did right, I'm going to do it again so you can, make more of it. It's addictive. But again, going back to your system, now, is there anything that we can do even before we get on the phone with with a prospect, like stuff that we should send them, or, you know what I mean? Like pave the way.
Sure. So to speak? Yeah. So I think there's a lot that you can just do on the front end. And from what I've found, most entrepreneurs, be it an accountingpreneur or a lawyerpreneur or whatever preneur you are, if you're an Uberpreneur, this might not work for you. But if you are selling to clients, service-based business, this should really help you. And these are just real quick tips that you don't probably even think of, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing that you really want to make sure you do, and I actually just shared this with Diane the other day, and to have her assistant do this, is have a 15-minute window where you set aside 15 minutes prior to any client meeting, any client phone call, any client Zoom call, where you get your mind right. You could listen to your most favorite song. You could do 5 minutes of yoga or stretching. You could do a meditation. You could do whatever your heart desires to get you in your best state of mind. The outcome of your future clients, enrollments, your sales, your revenue has a lot to do with you. Actually, it's all to do with you and where you're at, right? So if, let's say you had a client meeting prior, like Diane, she's back to back to back to back, right? I said, Diane, actually being back to back to back to back is not doing you and them any good. You need a little buffer. So Sheila is making a 15-minute buffer where Diane can work on her affirmation. She can get her mind right. Maybe she can go on a walk around the block. Whatever it is to really complete the previous call, meeting, sale, whatever it was, and come in fresh with them. It's very similar to like in a relationship, right? You don't go into your next relationship. Let's say if you got divorced or you just broke up with somebody, into your next relationship and bring all that baggage with you. You need to give them a clean slate, right? So with our clients, we have to give them a clean slate. So whatever it is in your business side of your life, what can you do to clean your slate? So that's number one.
Love it.
Number two, if you have not done so yet or whatever, pretty much 99.9% of the accountants I've worked with have never created even like a questionnaire or some sort of form that you can try to gather some information prior to meeting with a client. That would be the second thing that I would implement. So we were working on this with Diane actually last week, where they will be sending out things to new prospects to fill out. I would say a minimum of 5 to 10 different questions, open-ended, single answer, multiple choice. So you can really see if this is even someone worth your time.
So true.
Right? Like how many times have you gotten on the phone with somebody or a client meeting and they're not even like a prospect for you?
And you're just like, oh my
Has that happened to you?
God, yes.
Right? Okay. Now, if that's happened to you, I invite you to go and calculate how many hours you've wasted because that person wasn't even a good fit for you. So what I encourage you to do is create a questionnaire, a form. There's some free tools out there called Woofu Form. There's Google Drive. Google Form has a form. Like, just create something today that you can start sending out to people prior to a call that would help you make a decision if this is someone you actually want to spend time with. Okay?
That is so true. And I have incorporated that into my own business, and it is so helpful.
Oh, yeah. It's a game changer. So that's that. Okay. Here's another thing you should do that I found a lot of people don't do, and you just assume people are going to show up to your appointments. Okay. If you assume, what does that mean? You're just going to make an ass out of yourself, right? So don't assume. I have an assistant and a team, but I actually do all my own appointment confirmations for my own calls. It's more powerful from yourself. I don't recommend, unless you're like Diane. Diane's got hundreds of clients, right? I don't have hundreds. I have a handful. Yeah. I can handle it. I have a podcast called Success Unfiltered, where it's basically like rejection therapy that you can listen to. That's Every single one of those podcast guests, I confirm the interviews myself. I email them the day before. I send a calendar invite. I'll see you here. Here's my Skype name. I'll meet you on Skype at this time. Looking forward to chatting with you for 30 minutes. Oh, by the way, it's audio only. Like, give all the details from you personally. Okay? The very, very, very important. Number one, it sets the stage like, wow, they had the time to personally email me, right? So there's a perceived perception.
Right.
Okay? The other main important thing is that you're going to be the person working with them.
Yes.
So if you're going to be the person working with them and you confirm your own appointment, if you have the bandwidth to do that, it's very powerful. And you probably don't have more than like 4 or 5 appointments a day anyway. So just set out 15 minutes, 20 minutes each day, the night before, the day before, to confirm your own appointments, phone calls, Zoom meetings, for me, podcast interviews. Yeah. It's really important. And if you have the problem of, oh, this client didn't show up or this person didn't show up for their phone call, this will eliminate that, because now you value your time. You are setting the standard of valuing your time.
Love it.
When you do this.
Yeah.
So those are the three main things that you can do before any phone call, before any Zoom meeting, before any podcast interview.
Yes.
So those are the main things. And if you want to listen to my podcast, it's Success Unfiltered on iTunes. It's for entrepreneurs. And I interview like a Shark Tank vet every other month because, I did that. So it's really, getting past all these things as it relates to fear of sales. So that's what I talk about.
I love it. And I love the rejection therapy. That's awesome.
It is. It's rejection therapy because you get to listen to all of the stories about people's most devastating no's, people's biggest rejection that they had in business. We talk about, when was there a time that you told somebody no? Like you flipped the script. Maybe you didn't take on a client, right? Because you filled out the form. Or maybe they no-showed you 3 or 4 times on an appointment. I've done that before. I just blocked their email. I can't even get an email from them anymore. So those are the stories that we talk about, and they're really raw, real, true stories that, normally we would talk about one-on-one. But why aren't people talking about it in the open? Because any of the 8-figure entrepreneurs that I've interviewed, trust me, they have had their fair share of no's, failures, rejection. Yeah, but no one talks about it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, and you have to learn from them, right?
Yeah, and you'll realize you're like not alone. So it's all good.
Exactly. Love it. I loved those tips to get you in the right frame of mind, make sure that you're vetting the calls and obviously personalizing it and making sure that they show up. Is there anything else that we need to know before we pick up the phone? Like, is there research that we need to do? Or like is there a special way that we need to even start the sales conversation?
I'm a 50-50 on research. I would say it depends.
Okay.
For my accountant, I like to go into my sales calls and conversations with a clean slate. Yeah. I don't want to have researched them. I want to ask really detailed, really strategic questions, come from a curious place, and get to know them without pretending I already knew them. However, on my podcast guests, I do some research because I want to dive into like the juicy stuff, and sometimes I can find some really juicy stuff.
Totally.
So I would say it's 50-50, depending on what type of business you have, who you're serving, who you want to help, etc. So you could do your research and you could not, and you could test it, right? Split test it, just like you would do on a landing page on a website.
Yeah.
Why don't you split test? Hey, if you have 10 appointments next week, research 5 of them, see how you do. Don't research the other 5 and see how you do and go from there.
I love that. I would never have thought of split testing on sales calls. For whatever reason, it just doesn't enter your mind.
I split test everything. Yeah.
That's smart. Love it. And I liked how you brought up being curious and asking a lot of questions. Is that something that's strategic in regards to asking a lot of questions? Because some people do tend to just kind of go into the pitch, so to speak. Any do's and don'ts there?
There are so many do's and don'ts, but we're going to be here another 15 minutes. So maybe we should table that one for the next episode. But
Fair enough.
If you go straight into the pitch, let me share it to you this way in a relationship form. Asking questions is like dating. If you go straight for the pitch, you're basically asking someone to sleep with them.
Yeah.
So, or not even asking, you're just doing it. So I would steer clear of just starting out with your pitch and what you do.
Yeah.
I have the funniest story for this, okay? So let me just share it real quick.
Awesome.
So I changed my water service last week. Like I would get these like 10-gallon bottles delivered to my house and have to carry them up 30 stairs, right? I've been doing that for 10 years. I'm sick of it. So I called this other company, Palomar Water. They have like great water from the mountains and in Southern California, blah, blah, blah. The guy's like, we're the best. Like literally I call him, hey, I'm a referral from my friend Indira. Oh my gosh, we have the best water. I'm so glad you called us. We're the only one in San Diego that has this. You know, what are you looking for? I'm like, oh my God, he came on strong, right? like if I were going to date that guy, I'd be like, bye, right?
Yeah.
I said, I'm interested in the service. Can you just share with me like how much this water service is going to cost and how I don't have to carry it up 30 flights of stairs? That's what I'm interested in. Oh, well, you called the right place, Michelle. I mean, our water is pure. The alkalinity is high. And he just went into pitching and selling. I'm just like, oh my God, this is a pure example of what not to do. I wish I had it on recording.
Yeah.
Listen to it because it was hilarious. And I said, look, can you get me the phone number for the technician so I can call someone else to talk about really what I want to understand?
Nice.
So yeah, it was literally hilarious. So
and obviously they weren't listening to what it was that you wanted to know,
they weren't
right?
listening. He wasn't doing anything. He was talking over me. He was pitching. He was telling me how great the water is. I'm like, well, duh.
I care about the water.
Well, I called you. You don't need to sell me on how great your I can't. I don't know what I can say here. How great your amazing water is. All I want is to know, when can you install it and how much? You did not need to sell me. And I think that's another mistake that we can talk about another time. Sometimes you keep selling yourself.
Yeah.
And what you do, that you talk people out of a sale with you. So I'll leave it with that.
I love it. Dang, you packed a lot in there. So make sure you ask questions, listen to your prospect, and don't oversell.
Yes.
Thank you. I know sometimes we talk too much, don't we?
All the time. I always say, last tip, 80-20 rule. If you haven't read the book, go on Amazon, 80-20 principle. I couldn't tell you the author. It's amazing, but it has a lot to do with like where your revenue comes from in your business, right? Like 80% of your revenue comes from your top 20% of your clients. Well, all of your 80% of your sales comes from when you're only talking 20% of the time. So listen, 80.
I love that. That's a powerful tip.
Yeah.
And anything else that we should know? What preparing for a sales call, or like how do we even get? You were mentioning about getting in the right mindset. Like what is the right mindset? Is there a right one, or you just need to be clear of, what's going on in your life? That
each of you need to get clear. You need to get to a clear state of mind. So, I mean, if you think about it, how many of you have had a client meeting? You end it, you're so frustrated, they irritated you, they, whatever. I mean, some are great and maybe some are not. What do you need to do to get to even slate? Some people love to listen to their favorite song.
Yeah.
Some people, I love to go on a walk outside, or I like to do some stretches, or I like to check, 10 minutes of email. And then I'm like, oh, what call did I just have? I forgot about it already. Right. So what can you do to put the past in the past so you can be clean slate moving forward, so you can be the best service for your client? That's what I'm talking about.
That makes sense. Hey, while I've got you here, is there a specific time frame that sales calls should be? Some people say it should only be, for your free consultation should only be 20 minutes, or, it should be half an hour, or are there any rules in regards to the time?
I don't think there's rules on any of this. I think it really depends on what you're offering, what you're selling, what your business is. There's so many, for me in my business, when I'm working with the accountants like Diane or any of them, I invest an hour of my time because I go in depth with them. I'm very specific in who I will work with and who I will not work with. So I need to make sure on a lot of fronts, and I want to get to know them, because if I'm going to be spending the next 8 to 10 weeks with them and become pals and really invest my time, because I know that I can shift them and get to where they are, I will give them and invest an hour of my time. Some people might not. It really just depends on you, your business, your service, and what's your ROI. For me, I can invest 10 hours of my time talking to 10 people. And if I find one or two of the best ones that I get to choose because the other 8 weren't great, I'm great.
Yeah.
That's fine with me, because I know that those 2, my ROI pays itself. So you need to create yourself financial projections to understand the value of your time. Until you understand the value of your time, you can't charge really what you're worth. And those are some key elements to understand your KPIs, right? Your key performance indicators.
That's so true. And I like what you said about A, knowing your value, but B, also like just because you have a sale doesn't mean it's great. There are people that, are not ideal to work with and that are not going to bring you a huge ROI. So kind of valuing your time and understanding, who your ideal client is and what's going to bring you that revenue. It's all kind of tied together, right?
Yeah, it's all, the whole thing's tied together and the whole thing's tied to your top line revenue, right? So if you don't understand your metrics of your business, then how can you figure out, can you invest 15 minutes, and take the risk? How can you know if you can invest an hour and take that risk? So I always talk about this as calculated risk. Where are you able to take calculated risk in your business so you can see the upside potential? Because when you take risk, that's when you see upside.
Yeah, love it. And even I've gotten a lot of value from your tips, especially the split testing the sales calls. That was gold.
Oh yeah, split test. But the first three, prior, getting yourself ready prior to a call is imperative, because I just see too many people back to back to back. And, I've made that mistake myself. Yeah. I'm stressed out and I got my emails coming in at rapid fire and I'm, it gives me anxiety to see my inbox full. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need to get my emails. So, there's all these different ways. And also if you want to, I have some more really great tips, and I go through like a 5-step system of what else. And we talk about asking questions and stuff. So if you want to get that, it's totally free, and you'll get on my email list too. That will, really help boost your confidence with your sales conversation. So if you want to grab that, it's sellwithoutsleaze.com is the URL. So again, really building and growing the sales relationships and understanding the step by step. So I've broken it down into like 5 steps.
Perfect. And obviously people can find you at thepitchqueen.com in general.
Yeah. Or if you go to sellwithoutsleaze.com, you'll land on thepitchqueen.com too. You'll just get to our landing page.
Perfect. True. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your tips. You packed a lot in and make us on our game a little bit more.
Anytime. You got to stay on your game, right?
Dan Skippy. Awesome. So this week's 15-minute cruise to move the needle in your business, folks, I know it goes by fast, is at an end. So thanks, Michelle, the awesome pitch queen, helping us out with some sales tips so we can crush it in our business. Thanks again, Michelle.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be here.
Awesome. So folks, if you're looking to achieve faster growth through content marketing and sales funnels, of course, look no further than smoothbusinessgrowth.com. So have a profitable and productive week, folks, and may the wins always be at your back.